Hello and welcome. My name is Agatland Mason.
And my name is Agatland. Today we will be having a conversation.
A conversation about race.
We will be interviewing a Native American woman named Elizabeth Watts, and she will tell us her mother's experience on the Trail of Tears.
And then we will be discussing the experiences of Native Americans today.
I think it is important to talk about Native Americans now, as it's been a long time since Native Americans dominated this land, and America has done a number on them.
That was perfect. Just start when you're ready.
My name is Elizabeth Watts, and I went down the Trail of Tears. I was only born on the trail, but I will never forget the scars that it left. I remember some of the stories my mom told me.
So, why did your people have to move?
Well, they wanted us to become civilized because they thought we were savages, but they did not just like our culture. They wanted to convert to Christianity and learn English. Our tribe's peoples changed a lot from who they once were, and for nothing because they made us leave anyway, even though we were civilized.
So, what is your culture?
We were a heterogeneous society, and we were very expecting to anyone. From another tribe, African, European settler, it did not matter. We would accept you with open arms. Our religion was based on a belief that the land we occupied was the center of the universe, and that everything, even non-living, had a soul, except bears.
Why did they force your people to leave?
Well, they were obsessed with owning more and more land. It was their manifest destiny. They believed that it was their God-given right to own this land. One of the military men told my mother that they must expand westward. It's something simply they must do. And surprisingly, he said, honestly, the idea to move your people out was Andrew Jackson. If I had a choice, I'd have no part in this. I think this might have mean a little bit to my mother, just to know that some of the Europeans cared for her people and did not agree what was happening to them. But still, I still don't think that was excusable by any means.
So, do you have any last words before we finish?
Yes, don't forget about my story.
Well, thank you, everybody. In our next segment, we would like to introduce a totally real and legitimate doctor in biology and race.
He will tell us some statistics and tell us about race.
So, without further ado, we'd like to introduce Dr. Pagler. Hey there, I said go. Why did you touch me with your stupid hands? I couldn't.
Do we still need to cut that though?
Thank you so much for having me on. So, what is race? How do we get it? And does it affect any of our other traits like intelligence or athletic ability? And is there a superior race? These questions have been asked for years, but today we are going to answer those questions. Let's begin by answering how we get our skin color. Skin color comes from melanin, which creates pigment. There are also two types of melanin, fetal melanin and EU melanin. EU melanin is a type of melanin that is in dark-skinned people, which is brown and black. And fetal melanin is the yellow-red pigment found in lighter-skinned people.
Very interesting. Why do we have two types of pigment?
Well, originally people were all dark-skinned, as everyone lived in Africa, which the UV rays are very dangerous to the light-skinned people, as there was a ton of them. The reason their skin was darker is because the melanin that made their skin dark acted like a blanket that protected them from absorbing too much UV. Also, it can damage your folate, which will lead to terrible birth defects in your children. Eventually, people started moving north, and they soon started to suffer from lack of vitamin D because the people started moving north. Lower UV rays and starting to have bone deficiencies in the babies who were born with a lack of vitamin D can suffer from rickets, which makes their bones, instead of having very dense structure, they become hollow, and holes in between the structure of the bones become wider, making the bones weaker. So, by natural selection, people who evolved to have lighter skin color. These people were at higher risk of skin cancer if they were to move to the south, and economic development embryonic development disorders, which the baby's spine or brain don't completely develop and leads to mostly cause to infant death.
So does skin color affect a person's ability to do something?
Not always. Skin color is simply someone's way for protecting themselves from UV rays. The only thing it really affects is where someone should live. Light-skinned people should live farther away from the equator, and darker-skinned people should live closer to the equator, unless you take extra precautions to prevent these diseases.
How do people become biracial?
Good question. Seeing as skin color is affected by more than one trait, it is polygenic, and since the skin color of the parents can mix, it is an allele that shows incomplete dominance. This happens when the father's sperm and the mother's egg combine the chromosomes. The sperm carries multiple genes for skin color, and so does the egg. These charts, called Punnett squares, show all the different possibilities for a family where both the father and mother have half of their alleles for skin color. Before eumeldin and the other half of pheomeldin, which means they're mixed or biracial.
Thank you. So I see here that it is a simplified model. So I see that it's simplified. So there's only 6 alleles being represented here. Okay, and so there'd be a lot more if we could tell, like if there was a way of telling how many genes are involved in skin color.
Yes, but even if we could tell, there are so many combinations that it'd be hard to make a easy to digest chart of it. But this model can get to the same idea of how a person with lighter skin and a person with darker skin can have kids that have either darker skin or lighter skin, and also have combinations that are in between those.
And it is possible for one person to be a baby to be completely white, or a baby to be completely black, but it is very rare.
Yes.
The most common combination being what I can see here, two alleles for the darker skin color, and 4 being for the lighter skin color.
Yep, that is true.
Alongside,
Aiden and I will be discussing Native Americans today.
indeed, there are about 2.9 million Native Americans left in America today, which is about 0.9% of the population.
Yes, and most of them live west of the Mississippi, which goes to show that race can affect where people live.
This is true because when Native Americans were forced west, reservations were made for them in western states.
And they still live there today. From graphic data that we received from Opportunity Access, we see that most of the population still live in the western areas.
So we can see race strongly affects where natives live. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope you've learned something.
And we hope you see now how the arrival of Europeans have changed Native American lives forever.
Bye.
Bye.